All right, let's start with what happened exactly today. Kyle Shanahan met with the media via a Zoom teleconference and spoke about the thoughts on exactly what's going on all of our minds and all of our hearts around the nation right now. Wide range of topics talking about racism and police brutality, and you can basically read the entire thing. I can't read the entire thing here on this show, but you can read all of his comments right now just Google. Go to SanFrancisco49ers.com or their Twitter account. Other things of note in terms of this, 49ers owner Jed York announced he's going to donate about $1 million in terms of relief funds, which is really cool of him to do overall. Little snippet of the Kyle Shanahan press conference, because again, it was a long statement. He said, quote, racism is a big deal in our country right now. That's a fact. That's not debatable. It's always been a big deal. It is today, just like it was 100 years ago. And so we kick off again with the latest news regarding our 49ers, starting with what Kyle Shanahan had to say in terms of speaking to the media and speaking on everything that has been going on. Obviously, other 49er players, including Richard Sherman, have been very vocal in the media, as they should be, and as a guy like Richard Sherman has been throughout his entire career. I think that locker room is one of the strongest in the entire National Football League, and I think they're all going to come together, much like I'd say 99, if not all locker rooms will in the National Football League. One of the great areas in terms of everyone from all different aspects of life coming together and supporting a common goal here. But I think it was nice to go ahead and start today with what's on everyone's mind and what was on Kyle Shanahan's mind as he met with the media and spoke about racism and police brutality. All right, be sure to subscribe to the 49ers Report as we get going here on our live 49ers Q&A video. We're approaching 25,000 subs, which is awesome. We got a lot of great content in not only this show, but future shows as well. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button. That way you guys are subscribed and get ready to be notified whenever we have the latest news and rumors. We'll start with what Steve Young really had to say about our quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Really interesting stuff here. So Jimmy Garoppolo, of course, has very high expectations, not only for this summer, this offseason, but going into the 2020 season as well. And so Steve Young was talking to The Athletic a couple of days ago, and he was asked by The Athletic, hey, listen, Steve, how would you approach coaching Jimmy Garoppolo going into the 2020 season? How should Kyle Shanahan approach coaching up Jimmy Garoppolo, who essentially is going to be going into his second year as the full-time starter? Now, of course, he's been in San Francisco a lot longer, but really full 16 games last year, no injuries. That's what we're hoping to do. That's what they're hoping to do with Jimmy Garoppolo this season. Here is what Steve Young had to say about Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. He said, quote, I remember Kyle's dad, Mike Shanahan, say to me, Steve, I'm going to be as aggressive as I possibly can, and I want you to protect me. That, I think, is a statement Jimmy Garoppolo needs to look for to get from his head coach, Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy, I need to be as aggressive as I possibly can, and I want you to protect me. So it's interesting what he said in the full article as well. He mentions that he needs to be literally wide open with Jimmy Garoppolo. Let him be as aggressive as possible, but in turn, Jimmy G has to give something back, and that is not throw interceptions. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously threw 13 interceptions this past season, and a lot of people said that was the big downfall of Jimmy Garoppolo and the only real knock on him during the 2020 NFL season. I thought he played very, very well, but the majority of it, just a couple of bad turnovers, 2 in Super Bowl 54. That could have gone a long way in the 49ers being Super Bowl champs and not being just NFC champs. But I really like what Steve Young had to say, going back to when Steve Young was inserted as a starting quarterback. We're going to be aggressive with you, according to Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator back then, but you need to protect that football and not turn it over. It worked pretty well for Steve Young overall. We talked a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo over-unders here. Give me your over-under on his touchdowns. 30 touchdowns over-under for Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. I've said right about 27, right? I mean, that sounds about right. The interesting thing I want to get to as we keep talking about Jimmy Garoppolo here has to do with how he played in the losses. You talk about aggressiveness, and that's obviously what Steve Young was mentioning. Here were the 4 losses by the 49ers last season, 3 in the regular season, and then obviously the heartbreaker and Super Bowl 54. You'll notice a trend in half of these, right? A trend in half of these is that he was very, very inaccurate and didn't throw the football a lot. Now, of course, in the overtime game, he threw the football a lot more against Seattle, and he threw the football a lot in the Super Bowl game as well. It comes down to, do you trust Jimmy Garoppolo to cut it loose and let it loose? And while you'll see the stats here throughout the 4 losses, in the wins, he was able to do that. Think, obviously, back to the Saints game when they went into overtime and obviously won that football game. Jimmy Garoppolo over 400 yards, absolutely balled out. So Steve Young, I think, is thinking what a lot of 49er fans are thinking. Let him be aggressive. Let him go out there. And if he could duplicate the stats he had last year, Literally just 30 more yards gets you to 4,000, and then cut those interceptions down to 7 or 8 or 9. I think a lot of people will be very happy with Jimmy Garoppolo. He gets a lot of unwarranted hate in the national media, and the 49ers do not get ranked very well in power rankings because they're not number 2 in a lot of them. They're like 5, 6, 7 because people don't think Jimmy Garoppolo can do it. I've tried to debunk that, trying to do that here as well, but I like that Steve Young is saying, hey, it starts not with Jimmy G. He's got to do his part, but it starts, of course, with Kyle Shanahan opening up the playbook a little bit more. He's got new wide receivers, and hopefully that in turn results in a very, very impressive and really good year for Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, if you guys are one of those, okay, we're going to weed people out here right now because this is interesting and funny. If you're one of the Jimmy Garoppolo haters, and you think Jimmy Garoppolo is the problem with the 49er offense, type Y down below for yes. If he's not the problem, like most of us think, I'm going to type N, so you should type N down below. Type N down below for no as well. It's interesting what the media will do with Jimmy Garoppolo, but it was nice to see a former 49er quarterback back him up today, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, via The Athletic in that little teleconference. Okay, before we keep going, really cool sale right now on the Stronger Together t-shirts at chatsports.com/FSstrong. They have men's and women's. They come in the black, the gray you see right here. They come in white as well. You can get them in a hoodie. You can get them in all sorts of really cool designs. The hoodie one is really great despite the fact it's going to be warm soon. But hey, store it away for the summer. Bring it out during football season. These Stronger Together ones are really great. And all the proceeds benefit coronavirus funds. They go to all the different relief funds, I should say, for the coronavirus pandemic that's going on. The NFL takes no profit on any of these, so get yours right now. They're on sale at chatsports.com/FSstrong. Moving on to more news regarding the team as a whole. There looks like there will be no joint practices in the preseason and into the training camp as the NFL has officially come out and said no joint practices. And while a lot of teams do this, there are some teams that don't have joint practices during training camp. Well, 49ers have been one of them. At least each of the last 4 years, they have traveled outside of San Francisco to go ahead and do some joint practices. And the question is this going to affect San Francisco in their preseason and their training camp by not getting to play against different opponents instead of themselves? Look at this. Last 4 years, they played Denver in Colorado for a week of joint practices in 2019, Houston down in Houston, and then Denver in 2017, and then Houston. Those are the two teams they've really enjoyed practicing against the past couple of years, and it looks like there will be no joint practices going into the 2020 preseason and going into, of course, training camp as well. Not a big deal, in my opinion. My real question is, are we going to have fans at training camp? Well, here's what NFL Network's Mike Garoppolo had to say in terms of fans being in attendance. Maybe you're going to be one of those fans. Quote, not mentioned in the memo, by the way, will there be fans at training camp? That's something that remains under discussion. You can see which way that this is going, so I'd say that's a possibility that you have no fans at camp, but nothing determined right now. Again, we're still very early in terms of how the NFL is going to go ahead and approach the 2020 NFL season. We know it's going to happen. It's a matter of if you and I can be in the stands, or if 25% of us will be in the stands, or 50%, or whatever it is going to be. But for sure, there will be no joint practices in the preseason, and that's something to keep an eye on in terms of our 49ers getting ready for the 2020 year. Question for you guys here. If camp is open, like if you can go to training camp, if you're one of the people that has been to an NFL training camp, as I have, would you go to it this year? With everything going on, if the Niners opened up their training camp for the fans to come watch and get autographs, would you go? Type Y down below for yes. Type N down below for no. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section as well. Before we keep going, sure to subscribe down below to get the latest 49ers news, rumors, content. We do live Q&As every Thursday. We do mailbags. We do rumors. We do news. Do a bunch of good stuff here, which if you're watching this, you probably already know that. But if you're new, welcome. Click the red subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. More news. A lot of news today. Trent Taylor is talking again about how healthy he is. Shocker, right? Trent Taylor is letting the world know. It's like the 5th time I've talked about this, that he's healthy and good to go for the 2020 season. So in case you forgot, Trent Taylor, foot injury, I think it was the beginning of the year, training camp last year, 5 surgeries over the course of the season on his foot. He keeps saying he expects to be 100% healthy, and apparently he's working out with Jimmy Garoppolo and other wide receivers. Here he is saying, quote, to The Athletic, I'm back to doing all my normal stuff. I don't know. I don't know if you would say, that I'm ready to go out and play a football game. I mean, I could if I had to, but mainly I'm just steadily getting back to normal right now. It feels good. My foot's able to run routes and make cuts right now, so I'm happy to be back doing that. This Athletic article also mentioned that there are a couple wide receivers who are in San Francisco training right now. not at the team facility, of course, but training at different locations with quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Trent Taylor is there. Jalen Hurd is there. Sean Poindexter is there. Kendrick Bourne and Dante Pettis. You'll notice 3 of these players are all coming back from season-ending injuries. Taylor, of course, had the foot. Hurd had the back. Sean had the ACL. And then Bourne and Pettis basically were MIA because they weren't good football players last year. I kid. Dante Pettis was MIA. Kendrick Bourne was okay. So we'll see what happens. But it's good to hear that Trent Taylor keeps announcing he's healthy. So hopefully he plays well. But at the same time, they're all working out and getting ready and getting that chemistry back with Jimmy Garoppolo for the 2020 season. The 2 big guys coming back from injury are obviously Trent Taylor and Jalen Hurd. Who has the better year? I'd say Jalen Hurd, right? I'd type JH down below if I was you. But listen, it's not Jalen Hurd talking in the media like every other week about how healthy he is. It's been Trent Taylor. So maybe it will be him. Maybe we believe him who has a better year in 2020. Let me know down below. Okay, that's our final bit of news here. And this has to do with Pro Football Focus. And the top 50 players and going into the 2020 season, where do the 49ers rank and how many do they have? Well, you'll see right next to me, it says 3 players have made it into Pro Football Focus's top 50 entering the 2020 season. And honestly, I think Pro Football Focus did a darn good job with this list, and I agree with the majority of it. They have George Kittle as the 5th best player in the entire National Football League going into 2020, the number 1 tight end. They had Richard Sherman as the number 14 overall player. He was like the number 2 or maybe the number 1 cornerback. I don't know if they put Ramsey ahead of him. I forget. And then they had Nick Bosa, the number 41 player, and like the 5th best defensive end going into the 2020 season. I think that they really did a good job in terms of the players, because if you look at this list, I can't really think about another player that would deserve to be on here. The Kittle stuff is to me, it's well-deserved and hopefully will help his contract out as well. Number 5, top 5 player in the NFL. Is it George Kittle? If you agree, give this video a like right now. He's pretty darn good. He's easily the best tight end. You can like the video for that as well. But if you think he's a top 5 player, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. The only interesting part, and I mentioned it at the top that I agree with 99% of the Pro Football Focus list, it's interesting where they put Nick Bosa. These were the defensive ends and pass rushers ahead of Nick Bosa. J.J. Watt, Cam Jordan there at 21, Von Miller, T.J. Watt, and Myles Garrett. Now you look at the list and you go, okay, who here is better than Nick Bosa in 2020? You could make the argument none of them are. Now, I understand the reasoning because technically on paper, Bosa, Watt, Miller, Jordan, and the other Watt are all better. But I think we're about to see Nick Bosa explode. He was fantastic last season, even in a rookie year. And normally defensive ends, as I say religiously on this show, defensive ends do not normally perform well in their rookie year. So Bosa, year 2, after performing very, very well, expect big things. And that's why I think Pro Football Focus rightly put him on the list, even though it might be behind some guys you might not agree with, because I'd rather have Nick Bosa than J.J. Watt right now because he's getting a little old. But you see the reasoning behind it, so I want to share that with you guys as well. Before we move on, for those of you guys just joining us, really cool T-shirts being sold. All the proceeds are going to coronavirus relief funds, chatsports.com/FSstrong. Stronger together. Every single team is doing these T-shirts. You can get them in all different flavors. But obviously, you want the 49er one. Men's, women's, you got T-shirts. You got the black version. You got the gray version right there. There are hoodies. A lot of great stuff here. They're on sale. The T-shirts are like $20. And again, all the relief efforts, 100% of the proceeds go to coronavirus relief funds. They don't go to the NFL. They don't get a cut and all this. So it's pretty cool. Check them out right now at chatsports.com/SFstrong.